Hello, and welcome back to Inktober 25, Day 4 of the Zentangle edition here on the Tangles and Tunes channel. And just as before, Gayle is with me today.
Hello.
And before we start with today's tangle and adding it to our composition, I wanted to just discuss something very quickly that might be of interest or help to you folks. And so, Gayle, I've got her sheet here. Let me move my pens aside. And as we show you at the end of each session so far, we like to do that side-by-side comparison. It's just part of the Zentangle class atmosphere that normally takes place whenever we have a live event and we have students and someone leading that class. It's fun at the end to lay down all the tiles together and compare them, not to see who did better or who did worse or who got it wrong or anything like that, but to just show the amazing uniqueness of each individual piece of art. And just as you can see here, we're obviously following the same instructions, the same basic goal of this composition, but we've carried it out in slightly different ways. Her star's a little bigger than mine. Her placement is a little different relative to her nameplate. Her seedways is less curved than mine, and so on. These are just subtle differences, but they add up to something where we have differences in our composition possibilities. Now, I can today add my tangles in here if I chose. Gayle could not do that. Now, is that bad or wrong? Not at all. She could put her tangles anywhere that she likes and still follow those same basic principles and directions, but it's going to end up in a uniquely Gayle version of this composition. And that's actually a good thing. That's part of the fun. That's why we do the mosaic practice at the end of live sessions, is so that people can be encouraged by the uniqueness and the independent beauty of their own pieces of art. So if I put something today where you can't do it, or you want to just put it somewhere else, even if you could do it the same way, that is 100% fine. There's no laws or rules that must be followed. There's only guidance to help you be inspired and to give you opportunity to create on your own. So with that aside, let me give this back to Gayle, and let's jump right into our tangle for today. We'll go ahead and zoom in here. And I actually am going to place the tangles in this area on my composition today, so you have to decide where you'd like to put yours, if it's different or the same. But the tangle today is Toodles by Zentangle. I do want to show one full version of the Toodles pattern here, and then the others will just be layered behind and so on. So let's start here with the pattern. It's starting with a what I call a lazy S sort of shape. And then we just tether it to each end and create a aura that gets a little bit narrower at each end. So we get this little shape like that. And then from the bottom, we're going to curve upward with a single line and do what is really looks like a fescue shape. And I've talked about that in my other videos as well. A fescue is just that line with the little teardrop shape at the end. And they can be drawn in small sizes or large sizes, but we're just creating a couple little loops here, or little curves. And then we'll start at the top, and we're going to create the actual leaf shape, which will come down and connect to that line like that. And we'll do the same from this other side. Just like that. And that's the basic Toodles shape. Now, there's other things that can be done to embellish and enhance the Toodles form, and we'll cover that here in a minute if we're going to do those things. But let's get a few of these shapes. I like to do at least 2 or 3 of each pattern just so we have something interesting to look at that way. So I'm going to, let's see, I might be able to squeeze one way in behind here. So this will be a little trickier maybe if you're doing something similar. I've got stuff all around it. So I'm going to just bring this line here and assume it comes out down like this. So we're using that draw behind technique, and then this I'm going to bring up, and my little teardrop shape at the end is going to be partly obscured. And same over here it looks like. So sometimes this can get tricky trying to draw behind. You just have to let your imagination guide where these pieces would go and see what you come up with. So just like that, I've got kind of a funny looking leaf shape over here. Probably didn't need that piece there since it could have gone further over, but that works. At least it's there. And now I'm going to add an additional one or two smaller ones right up here. So now that we've got our basic pattern in place and positioned where we want, we need to think about, are we going to add any embellishments or additional details to our Toodles? Let's do this, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to draw an aura that follows the basic shape of this petal and follows around that middle piece. I'm going to do that to both sides. And then I'm going to add some lines that follow like a curvature within there, and then we'll add some weight to those lines and just see how that looks. May not be everyone's cup of tea, and who knows, I may not even care for it myself, but I just want to play with some ideas off the cuff to encourage experimentation. You don't have to always follow the guidebook, so to speak, or do it exactly like the step out. Just have some fun with it and add some uniqueness, some individuality to your own tangles. You could even use the space of the Toodles petal there to be a placeholder for additional tangles altogether. And so now what can we do with some of these other ones? I am going to use orbs here on one of these at least, just since it's an easy little embellishment that we can add, especially if the pattern that you're working with is small. It's just a convenient way to do that without needing a lot of precision in what we're doing. Just add some variety there. And I think I'm going to also add something here to this centerpiece as well. I'm going to try using curved lines that will maybe be a good companion to those lines on the petals. And then when we shade it, that maybe will really enhance and look kind of cool that way. And what else can we do here? How about if we add some simple ornamentations around the outside of one of these? So I'm going to make I'll show you what I'm talking about with a loop. I'm going to make a loop like this where I just draw a loop and just keep going. I actually think someone named this Tangle, but I can't recall what that is. And besides, it's just a line with a loop, so whether it has a name or not is largely irrelevant. But I'm going to just do that right around this one, just to make it different. So I'm touching that outer line and then just looping up all the way around. I'll do that around this whole piece. Like this version of Toodles has little doodads hanging off of it, I guess. And I think maybe just because of that extra, I'm going to just ink this straight away. Just adding some variety there. And I'm going to maybe add some orbs around this along the centerpiece there. I'm going to do some light little indicators coming out like they're emanating from those orb areas there, just to give some life maybe to that. A little different type of style. And now we can look at shading. Let's take a look at shading these. I always like to overlap, or shade rather, the overlaps where the pieces might look like they're curling under themselves and create a little bit of depth there. And of course, if our patterns are laying on top of one another or in front or behind each other, we want to add some shading there as well to help convey that sense of depth. And I've drawn Toodles so many times that I sometimes get, over the years I should say, that I sometimes get complacent when I'm laying it down. I just slap it in there without thinking real carefully about how I want to embellish or modify these, and then that I get a little more limited. So just a word of, not advice, but a thought that if it's a pattern you're familiar with, take a moment, don't just lay it down, but think about it, and maybe you can create new ways to embellish it. And so now that I've got that shading with over and under, let's add a little bit more. Alright, so we've got the basic embellishment and shading done on our Toodles. I'm going to go back to mine here real quick, and I'm going to turn these little orbs into dark orbs or inked orbs. I just think it will be a little bit different. Maybe look like little berries or something on these plants. Just want to make that little change. Alright, so Gayle, let's see what you have. What did you come up with?
There you go.
Oh, nice. Let me move mine up a little bit. Very nice. So you've got a nice little row of them, and you used a similar embellishments as I did, but yours are very clearly discernible because your sizing is a little nicer that way. Really cool. Nicely done, Gayle.
Thank you.
Very good. Nice clear shading. Here's a, let me zoom out. We'll get a side by side there, so we can kind of see both.
Fun.
Very fun. Well, that is it for day 4 of our Inktober journey, and I hope you're having fun as you tangle along with Gayle and I, and I can't wait to get to the next video. So if you haven't seen the prior videos, please go ahead and do that. And I know I swore to myself I would never say this on a video, but I would love it if you could like or subscribe to the channel, like this video or subscribe. It would be super helpful to me as a content creator, and it just encourages me immensely. So if you haven't done so already, I would be grateful. But thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone again real soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.